am Megan Story, and I am presenting my case study for EDL 853, Special Education for Building Leaders. So Section 1 summarizes the case. A star football quarterback, Miguel Hernandez, is playing in a semifinals competition. When he gets tackled, he ends up being paralyzed from the waist down. His doctors and parents allowed him to return to Nottingham High School, where he was needing to use a wheelchair due to his new accommodations, but that is the only accommodation found at this time. He, upon his first day back, Mrs. Gusman, who is the counselor, needed to see Miguel. Basically, what occurred is that his classes had changed, and so he would not be able to take the biology class that he had requested to take. He was put into another class, which was which was not the college prep class that he desired, due to the college prep class not having wheelchair accessibility. So then Mrs. Hernandez calls to meet with the principal, and Mrs. Hernandez obviously is upset about this. Mr. Hernandez shows up with their lawyer, who is Howard Carey, and he questions the principal on Section 504 and about denying Miguel the opportunity for taking this class. So Section 2, report any legal or ethical issues. So in IEP or special education services, he would not qualify if there was an academic need. However, it was determined through observation and through testing that this may not be the case. So I would let the superintendent and the special ed director know prior to the meeting if Miguel isn't being denied, he's not being denied school credit, just a college prep class. So basically, when we talk about temporary impairment, we're talking about a 504 unless the severity results in one that is a major life activity for an extended period, in which this potentially is. And so this would limit him to, in the Amendment Acts, so it's not regarded as an individual with a disability or an impairment of 6 months or less. So an impairment, as we're talking about, or disability under a 504 has certain circumstances, and under these circumstances, that major life activity would qualify him for a 504. And so with that, the 504 nor the IEP would guarantee classes, but it would provide accommodations. Except if he were to be on an IEP, he would need to be evaluated and qualify for that, which is helping with overall core classes and providing specialized instructions with accommodations and modifications, unless it was a severe disability like life skills that would require in support during that setting. So basically, one of the lines that was a problem was his third period class, and that he would no longer be enrolled in biology because the class did not have wheelchair accessibility. Gets a little dicey since earlier the counselor, the parents, and the student had already gone over the schedule and agreed to beforehand that was okay. If it's the same class in a different room, no big deal. But because it's unavailable because of his disability, that is where there's an issue. Synthesized. Miguel Hernandez is a student that was recently paralyzed in a football accident that has been denied a biology college preparatory class due to the classroom not being ADA or wheelchair accessible after his parents and school counselor agreed upon his schedule prior to his return, showing the need for legal intervention under Section 504. So, Section 4, synthesize the facts. Basically, the people in this are going to be Miguel Hernandez, the student, Mr. Hernandez, the father, Mrs. Hernandez, the mother, Ms. Gusman, the high school counselor, the principal, Howard Carey, which is the family attorney, and then Dr. Harvey, the superintendent. At this time, the unknowns are about funding and what is up to code in the building. The place that we are talking about is Dover Unified School District with 3,200 students, 6 elementaries, 2 middle schools, 1 high school, and Nottingham High School specifically. Talking about a sophomore in a biology class. When we talk about review and prioritize information, we're talking about that conflict is damaging to leadership, because this is going to cause issues with the superintendent. This is going to cause issues with the special ed director. This is also causing issue in-house at that school principal-wise. So conflict has the potential to be damaging to stakeholders and the community due to the school buildings not being up to date or flexible in the arrangements for students with qualifying services. There is enough information to make a formative decision about this, But input may be needed from the superintendent, the special education director, and the legal team due to the parents bringing in a lawyer and the threat of courts getting involved. Identify your opinions, options, and consequences. So first, take no action. Miguel's put in a regular classroom that was reassigned to him. Ultimately, he would receive the credit for his high school credit. Second consideration, allow Miguel to take the college prep biology class, move the class to a different classroom where the setting would be wheelchair accessible. This classroom may not be like a science classroom with labs, but at least it would be accessible for him to attend. Third consideration, obviously contact the superintendent, make wheelchair accessibility at Nottingham High School available. Review ADA with the superintendent, special ed director. A long-term solution would be obviously so that all students could have wheelchair accessibility to meet their needs. And then reprimand Mrs. Gussman for the change with something that was already agreed upon with the parents. So when we evaluate these options, basically a pro of taking no action is Miguel still gets his science credit for high school. A con is that Miguel has to take the undesired biology class that he doesn't want, and the school did not follow through, violating ADA, IDA, and Section 504, which is likely going to result in a lawsuit. Second consideration is that it keeps the school district from a lawsuit. Ultimately, if Miguel has the opportunity to take the college prep class, it shows that leadership can find a solution. Cons, the long-term solution for this, for accessibility to building, is costly, but it would only benefit students. And then the lack of trust among stakeholders if handled poorly. This can be a big problem with students, parents, the community, all the above. On our third considerations, Miguel gets a fresh start. With this, the school will be up to code. Cons would be a lack of trust once again. Ms. Gussman may be resentful for the issues that have been caused. Large changes being made in a stressful environment, and then Miguel may become a target for kind of avoidance. So because of some issues, teachers may act differently, principals, that sort of thing, because of what has occurred. Section 8, choose the best option. So the best decision that the principal can make is to include the superintendent, special education director, and legal team in on the meeting with the parents. The school should be held in the class should be held in a location that wheelchair accessibility is allowed for that student so they can attend the course. And while it may not be ideal for a science discipline class to be held in another location other than a science lab, allowing Miguel the opportunity to take the course is best practice and would not violate ADA, ADIA, or Section 504. Through this practice, there is advocating for equitable access to educational resources and opportunities that would provide support that educational success and well-being of each student. Both long-term solution is to funds are allocated to updates that would allow buildings in Dover school districts to be up to code so there's no inequality or bias, allowing equal opportunity for all. Section 9, imagine implementing your decision. So speak with the superintendent, special ed director, and legal team so that all bases are covered. Have a staff meeting about the changes that will occur so that staff have a comprehensive understanding and capacity to undertake and implement the work within that school setting. Meet with teachers to let them know what classes and locations will need to change and make decisions to make accommodations for that student. Follow up with Ms. Gussman so that that you can handle the scheduling how to handle scheduling conflicts in the future, and then work through professional learning and or development within the school setting to allow the opportunity for staff to meet district policy through instructional expectations with procedures, guidelines, norms, and values. Thank you.